Hey, this is Brooke, functional medicine dietitian specializing in fertility, and this is the Fertility Dietitian Podcast, where I help you uncover the barriers that are preventing you from optimizing your fertility and teach you how to work with your body to finally take home a healthy baby. Each week, I will be diving into different topics on fertility and sharing my perspective on physiology, metabolic health, nutrition, and lifestyle approaches that have helped hundreds of couples get pregnant even after years of heartache. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge you need to take back control of your fertility. Happy listening. Hello, and welcome back to the Fertility Dietitian Podcast. Today, we're talking about something I see all of the time in practice, especially with women who've been trying to conceive for months or years. They're exhausted, they have low hormones, and they feel like they've tried everything. But their labs often show a really interesting pattern. DHEA might look normal, but testosterone is low. Metabolized cortisol is low, energy is low, libido is low, recovery is poor. And despite taking supplements or even trying hormone replacement, they still don't feel like themselves. So if this sounds familiar, this episode is for you, because today we're talking about a missing piece of the hormone conversation that almost nobody is discussing. It's your mitochondria. And if your mitochondria are struggling, your hormones often struggle too. So let's dive in. What are the mitochondria and why do they matter for fertility, right? Let's start there. Most people know that the mitochondria they know of the mitochondria as the powerhouse of the cell. And yes, they're responsible for producing energy. But what many women don't realize is that the mitochondria do so much more than make energy. They are directly involved in hormone production. And I like to think of it as the mitochondria is producing energy to support or make hormone production happen, right? In fact, the very first step of steroid hormone production happens inside the mitochondria. Pretty cool, right? This means that your body relies on healthy mitochondria to produce hormones like progesterone and testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, and DHT. When mitochondrial function starts to decline, hormone production can become less efficient. So your body may have the ingredients to make the hormones, and we always have to make sure that is happening initially, right? If we are under eating, over exercising, experiencing a lot of internal or external stress, your body doesn't even have the ingredients it needs to make those hormones. But if it does have the ingredients to make the hormones, it might not have the cellular energy to do that job very well. And this is why looking at hormones alone can often miss the much bigger picture. The lab pattern that I want to pay attention to and do pay attention to in practice is really looking at DHEA. I often see normal DHEA paired with low testosterone and low metabolized cortisol. So before I go any further, I want to be really clear. There are multiple reasons that this pattern can occur. Hormones are complex, but this pattern can sometimes point us toward mitochondrial dysfunction. So think about it this way. DHEA is often considered a precursor hormone. It's one of the building blocks. And if DHEA is available, but downstream hormones remain low, we have to ask, is the body having trouble converting and utilizing these building blocks efficiently? In some cases, mitochondrial dysfunction may be part of the answer. And this is where a root cause approach becomes so very important, because simply replacing hormones doesn't necessarily address why production is struggling in the first place. You might be wondering why mitochondria becomes dysfunctional in the first place. But so mitochondria are incredibly sensitive to their environment. They're consistently and constantly responding to signals from your diet, from your lifestyle, your stress levels, your gut health, your toxic exposures or toxic burden. And some of the biggest stressors I see impacting mitochondrial function include chronic stress, whether it's emotional stress, work stress, fertility stress, financial stress, relationship stress. Your body doesn't separate these categories. It's all stress. And chronic stress increases oxidative stress and can impair mitochondrial performance over time. Poor sleep is another really big factor. Sleep is one of the most powerful mitochondrial repair tools that we have. And when you're consistently sleeping less than 7 hours, or your sleep quality is poor, mitochondrial recovery really suffers. Blood sugar instability can be its own stressor. Also, large glucose swings create oxidative stress and increase inflammation. This places an additional burden on the mitochondria. Gut dysbiosis or imbalance is a really big area we want to look at for mitochondrial health as well. An unhealthy gut microbiome can increase inflammation. It impairs nutrient absorption and contributes to toxin recirculation. Okay. And in talking about digestion and absorption, we also have to consider mineral status and mineral balance, which is a really big piece of supporting that cellular energy function and making sure you have the resources or the ingredients that your cells and mitochondria needs to create that energy also. So I typically use an HTMA or hair tissue mineral analysis type of test for that. And it can give us a lot of insight as to how to better support or repair mitochondrial function also. All of these impact mitochondrial function, though: your gut health, your sleep quality, your blood sugar regulation, your overall stress, internal and external. Okay. Environmental toxins are also a big topic that we have to talk about. Plastics, pesticides, heavy metals, fragrances, other chemicals can interfere with mitochondrial function and hormone production. Overall, nutrient deficiencies, so not just those minerals, but vitamins. Also, we know that mitochondria requires nutrients to function. Deficiencies in magnesium, B vitamins, iron, selenium, zinc, antioxidants like CoQ10, omega-3 fats can all impact energy production also. So we have to get a good picture of nutrient status overall. And the stressors in your body, which can be your gut health, your toxic burden, your blood sugar, can be taking those nutrients away from supporting mitochondrial health also. So even if you are getting a lot of those nutrients in, that stress piece is a huge, huge factor also. So learning more about how many of those nutrients are coming in, where they're going, and how they're able to actually support hormones, or if they're able to make it to that downstream hormone production piece, is all things that we have to look at and consider when we're thinking about hormone production and mitochondrial health. So you might be asking, why does all of this matter for fertility? But if you've listened to this podcast for a while, or you followed me on socials, you've heard me talk about egg quality and sperm quality. Mitochondria are one of the most important factors influencing egg quality. In fact, the egg contains more mitochondria, 10 times more, than any other cell in the body. And that should tell you how important and how energy intensive reproduction is, and follicle maturation for good quality follicles is. Okay, mitochondria provide the energy required for egg maturation, for ovulation, for fertilization, for embryo development, and for hormone production, as well as implantation support. So when mitochondrial health improves, we often see improvements in fertility outcomes, not overnight, but over time. Right? That window that we have the biggest impact or influence on that health of the egg is about 90 days long. We can have continued influence over, 6 months to a year, because there's multiple cycles of that egg maturation happening through that time frame. And the more consistent we are with decreasing toxic burden and supporting gut health, the better and better the quality and the mitochondrial function becomes. Remember that egg quality is very responsive to the environment it's exposed to during development. So if you're hearing any other messages saying that egg quality cannot be changed, this is not true. We have the research on this, the clinical experience, and the client outcomes that I've seen for the past decade definitely show us that egg quality can absolutely be improved, and it can even be better in your 30s than it was in your 20s. And the development process takes, again, at least a 90-day period. So we have to give it time to we have to give ourselves time to implement the changes in order to see the improved outcomes with the overall reproduction and egg quality. All right. So let's be clear. Hormone replacement has a role, but there are situations where it is absolutely not appropriate. So there are definitely situations where it is appropriate and beneficial, and there are definitely situations where it can actually be more harmful. If we only replace hormones without asking why production is declined, we may miss a really big opportunity to create lasting improvement in the overall environment. So it's a little like putting water into a bucket that has a leak. The water may temporarily help, but we still need to identify the repair to be able to prevent the leak, right? That's why root cause fertility care is so helpful. And that's really what it's all about. We ask why hormone production is struggling. What's creating the stress on the system? How do we improve the terrain? How do we support mitochondria naturally? So let's talk action steps. If I was supporting mitochondrial health for fertility, these are the major foundational areas I would focus on first. And of course, we always want to individualize the picture. We want to really investigate your situation and see where your body's at to get the biggest outcomes. But you can always start here first. So prioritizing protein. Your body needs amino acids to support detoxification, hormone production, tissue repair, metabolic health. Aim to include high quality protein at every meal. This also helps support your blood sugar balance. So building your meals around that protein is important, making sure you're including healthy fats and fiber-rich carbohydrates all help stabilize your blood sugar, which means less oxidative stress or less damage to the mitochondria also. Eating antioxidant-rich foods is also very supportive at protecting that mitochondrial health. Think colorful fruits and vegetables, herbs used liberally, spices used liberally, seafood, pasture-raised meats, and nutrient-dense whole foods are all really helpful to get more of the antioxidants in to protect those mitochondria. Really making sleep quality a big priority, aiming for 8 to 9 hours of sleep whenever possible, getting morning sunlight and limiting bright light after sunset can make a really big difference to how your sleep quality is improving also. And of course, we want to be supporting your gut health, making sure you're getting plenty of fiber, fermented foods when tolerated, adequate stomach acid, which can really be nervous system regulation, making sure you're chewing your food well, slowing down to eat, and investigating any chronic digestive symptoms is also helpful to see what may be underlying in there. Reducing overall toxic burden. So choosing glass over plastic when possible, filter your drinking water, reduce exposure to synthetic fragrances and unnecessary chemicals in your products that you're using consistently. And then in addition to all of that, considering targeted mitochondrial support can always be helpful too. So depending on your situation, nutrients like CoQ10, carnitine, magnesium, omega-3 fats, selenium, zinc, and B vitamins can all be additionally supportive. Always work with your healthcare provider. Hopefully they are well-versed in nutrition and a holistic approach for fertility. But they can help you determine what's appropriate for you. And really one of the biggest shifts I want you to take away from today's episode is this. Low hormones are a symptom. They are not the cause of anything reproductive related, okay? Your hormones are responding to the environment that they're being produced in. And when your cells are healthy, your mitochondria are functioning well, your gut's thriving, your nutrient status is optimized, and your body feels safe, hormone production becomes much more efficient. That's why in my practice, we're always looking beyond the hormone levels. We're asking why the body is struggling to make the hormones in the first place. Because when we address the root cause, we often see improvements in energy, metabolism, and fertility, hormone balance, and overall health. And that is where real transformation happens. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of the Fertility Dietitian Podcast. If you did find this episode helpful, please share it with a friend who's been told that her hormones are low, but still doesn't have answers. And if you're ready to take a root cause approach to optimizing your fertility, Head to the link in the show notes and apply for my waitlist for a fertility strategy session. And remember, your hormones don't function in isolation. They're a reflection of how well your cells are functioning. And when you support your cells, you support your fertility. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fertility Dietitian Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review to let me know what topics you want more of or less of. If you want to keep learning, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website for more info on my private coaching program, Master Your Fertility, or my membership community, Fertility Blueprint. And don't forget my digital store. Come say hi on YouTube and Instagram. See you in the next episode.